I know the how that they get to people.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know all of the why they did what they did to me.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
but I know how they get in now, and I know all their tricks,
Hmm.
and I think it's really amazing because if I know all their tricks and I'm not afraid, then that means everybody on earth can be free within, just by understanding
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
that it comes down to that God spark that we have. And
Hello, everyone. I'm Rebecca Rose, Sirius Blue, and I'm doing something different today, inviting a kindred sister, colleague, and also a client of mine to join us to talk about some of her experiences in unbinding from the graves and some of her work in the world, her healing experiences, and might get into a little of her SSP experiences as well. I feel like she has a lot to offer our audience. And Erica, I'm really happy to welcome you today.
thank
Yeah.
you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, so I was just, before we got on today, I was thinking about we've got quite a lot of synergy because we were born in the same year and have had some similar experiences. We're meeting face to face today for the first time. However, we're
First,
corresponding through email, and I think, you've had a lot going on for a number of years, and was it toward the end of last year that you booked a session with me? Is that right? Can you remind me the timeline?
yeah, it was November.
Okay.
Last November, I had my first
Okay.
session with you.
Okay. And, do you want to talk a little bit about what was happening for you or give us a little preamble about, what was life like and what were you working with? Yeah.
Oh, things were really hard.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I was completely shut down when I contacted you.
Mm,
I had so much manipulation from the Greys mostly and military, and
yeah.
my energy centers were shut. I just wasn't, I didn't feel like I was alive or or living. I don't know how to say it better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's well said. I mean, I
Mm.
feel like, well, looking at the cross section of some of the people I visit with in sessions, that can be the case. We've heard that
But
before, and
it's
I feel
not.
like that's been the case for me at times in the past too. So it's understandable and relatable. Yeah. And Erica, I wanted to touch on this as well because I feel like you're also very psychic and you work as a healer. Is that also correct? Yourself
Yes.
now. So it's so interesting to me the parallel that can happen with, a lot of people in the audience who maybe have had abduction or ET contact or so on. Very psychic people, very like the indigo children and the crystal children, we're all here. And so I just wanted to highlight that part that you've got extraordinary abilities. And I think we share some crossover, like you've had some memories of me that I was unaware of and maybe still am unaware of. Who knows if we'll get into that today or in the future. But going back to, what were your memories, in the session, the first couple of sessions, I feel like we worked some with the unbinding of the grays, and I don't remember all my sessions verbatim, but can you speak a little bit to that? Because I feel like you had such a powerful unbinding and like this detox period of get like what I would say is like breaking free from a deep well of almost enslavement to these external systems.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know where to begin.
Yeah. Well, so you had some awareness of the gray interference before we had met?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I
okay.
knew that I did. Yeah, I had no idea it was the Greys. I knew
Okay.
that they'd been messing with me, but I didn't know at what level. I didn't know that
Okay.
every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
They had manipulated and
Hmm.
caused so much damage, so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and what was the cadence of what opened for you in the aftermath of our time together, or what, give me the trajectory, because I just remember we did a few sessions and you had emailed me and said, "Oh my God, I don't, this is all really, really shifting quickly." You know, do you remember that
Yeah,
period?
well, in our first session, you had explained to me, I guess you had looked into my energetically my headspace,
Mm.
and the Greys spoke through you, and they were like,
Okay. Okay.
we want Erica to be like this. We want her like to develop this way. And it just, I think at a soul level, I knew that something or some kind of force had been manipulating me, because I
Mm.
just couldn't. I don't even have words.
Yeah.
It was just that
Yeah.
I was living a half life.
Hmm.
When you had mentioned in that session, or somebody had, I think one of my guides that you had spoken to in that session said that there's a little divine spark, like some kind of God particle in me that the Greys couldn't touch. It was still pure. There was
Mm. Oh,
just,
I
and
remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and I didn't believe that there was anything untouched in me. But when you had told me that there's that this like little flame that is in all of us that doesn't
Mm.
go out, or it can't be extinguished.
Yeah.
So I spent, it was such a big, it was such a tremendous, sorry, I'm
No,
getting
it's
a little
okay.
bit nervous,
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, and it can be hard to talk about these things on camera at first when we're still maybe, there's so many pieces
It
here. It
is.
can be hard to make it linear, right? So, yeah.
It's a lot, but I mean, I wrote out exactly everything that I went through. I just don't know where to start.
Yeah. Well, what was the first step for you? I mean, I think there was, as I look at it intuitively, I think there was some falling apart that happened and coming to grips with like, oh, is this what's been going on for all these years? I didn't even know it. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So at first realizing, oh my God, it is the grace, or this was it. I got, I
yeah.
don't know, I just felt so determined after I got off the phone with you after that session. And
Hmm.
I was in shock, of course, I was in shock. Um, but then I went into it like I went into battle.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
the first thing I wanted to decide what was my frequency versus, I had to get my baseline because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what my energy was versus their energy. We were so uh what's the word? Get caught up on
Mhm.
words. We were so, they
Well, there
just
was,
had their fingers in every part of my life.
yeah, I mean, there was an entwinement there, and it can be, I think,
Yeah,
you know,
intertwinement.
difficult to know what's actually Erica or what's something.
Right.
And it
And
feels like
that,
you had gotten into the place where your work, your health, your sleep, your relationships had all really been affected by something. And that had it gone on for years for you, Erica?
for
Or
years. Yeah. Since I was a child. But the last 2 years, especially, being afraid to go to sleep because you know that somebody's waiting and you don't know what's going to happen. So as far as the steps I took unraveling, I can start over there. You want me to start there?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I've never spoken on camera before.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Um, I I got off the phone with you. I think we had an afternoon session, and that night I I said out loud to the Grays, basically, because I knew they were there. I said, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't I don't care what any past agreement was. I don't care how you tricked me. I don't care. I want it done. I want all agreements, contracts, any kind of energetic agreement. I want it all null and void. I want it done.
Mm.
Um, I was angry, but I felt like it was like I was in my power and angry. Let me take a breath.
Yeah. 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 Have a breath. Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, this is good. You know, if you've watched my Bringing Light to the Darkness series, you know how how I have gone, and my audience is incredibly sweet and compassionate. So,
Ah.
well, and it's very it's telling of how difficult some of this is to go through, to reveal to ourselves, let alone anyone else. And I think the level of isolation we can end up living with as a result, because it's difficult. It's not
That's
easy.
where I was.
Yeah.
That's where I was though. I had I had nobody to talk to. Um,
Yeah.
I was a good person. I didn't like go out ruining my relationships, but I had nobody.
Yeah.
And something you just said that reminded me of something. I
Mm.
had to go back. Um, I know that the Greys can trick us
Mm.
with, according to them, like consent is an energetic manipulation, and they can, how do I say this? I had to go back and ask any any agreements I might have made through being afraid as a child, being insecure as a child, or having to survive, or through not knowing any better. Um, any kind of emotional trigger I had to go in there and see, because that's how they got me. It was all the psychological, emotional, I don't know how to say it.
Well, there is a kind of blackmail that goes on, or you know, that I've seen, or at least that was the case, and you know, my I think my own experience long ago. Yeah, there can be there's a duplicity that some groups of Greys are involved in, or were. You know, I feel like the way the Greys have carried on this planet has really, you know, almost come to it's very less now, if at all. You
It
know,
is. It
there's been
is.
way less of that happening, and I think a lot of them are actually gone from our solar system. But we're talking about, you and I are, you know, in our 50s now, so some of this, you know, goes back into a different era. We're talking the last century, really. Um, but it sounds like you had a plan, like, okay, I'm putting my warrior, you know, suit on here, and I'm gonna say no more and get clear and conscious about this, because it's almost like there can be a presence it's as if it's like furniture in our home. We don't even notice. It's just there. And
Exactly.
is it-
Exactly. And it was
Mhm.
like that in my mind.
Yeah.
I had this voice in my mind that I thought was my own thoughts. I thought it was,
Okay. Yeah.
that was it. And there was a constant conversation going on. I thought that was normal. It's not normal. It's not
Okay.
normal. They would tell me things like, oh,
Mhm.
that's stupid. Why are you doing that? That's stupid. And I'm constantly caught in loops in my mind.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
You can't even have a thought because I'm getting stuck on words here.
That's okay. Yeah, that's totally okay. Um, yeah, we're just taking our time here today. Yeah.
Okay, I need to.
Mhm.
It's really hard to talk about.
Mhm.
It's really hard to talk about. I've never talked about it before.
Yeah.
I've never
Yeah.
spoke about it before.
Mhm. Yes. So we're appreciating that. I think a lot of people in the audience can really appreciate that. Lots of people will never tell their story, and so you're kind of speaking for many at the moment, dear Erica. So what happened after
It's
that? You
hard.
know,
I can't imagine that you went through
oh, you mean like going public with all
this.
this? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Um, so finding my baseline, like what was my frequency versus what felt, I see it energetically like this. Like we have our our energetic meridians are like guitar strings.
Hmm.
Uh Psychically, what how I see the grays tweak with us is that, imagine you have these metal strings, and you know those a pair of pliers, if you attach to
Mm,
a string and twist it, it's jagged now. It's not a straight taut energy line. It's jagged, and they
mm.
pinch off. This is how I psychically see gray tech. They pinch it off to where that energy can't flow anymore, and I'm trying to find the right words. It's stopped, and then they can access your energy and feed it back to you the wrong way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's analogy. I think, yeah, that it does make sense. It's a lot of inversion and distortion. I mean, we can
Right,
really
distortion. Yeah.
corroborate that. And what happened for you after you made that sort of declaration, or what pieces, maybe did some pieces start to fall into place about the past, or can you give us a little more about that?
About the past, or the
Well, either
declaring
one.
them to be
Did you
done.
have did you have some revelations about events of the past? Maybe answer that.
I did. I realized that in everything I felt like I had failed at, it wasn't me, it was the grays. I had been blaming myself for so long for what they did, for what all the interference does to us. It makes us crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
The moment I realized it was grays and not me, like
Mm.
I wasn't broken, it was them, I got angry.
Okay, right. Yes.
I felt like, wait a minute, you know, I have 3 kids, I have grandkids. I don't have a relationship with anybody. The grays messed with every part of my life. I have
Mm,
no health. I had nothing when I contacted you. I had nothing left. So there was
mm,
nothing to lose to put my foot down and say, no, we're done.
mhm.
I demanded that night that every, what are they called? The implants, etheric
Implants?
implants,
Yeah.
physical implants, any kind of devices, I demanded it be taken off. I
Mm,
didn't.
mhm.
And when I say I demanded, I wasn't like angry or upset. I was in my power. I was in my sovereignty when
Yeah.
I demanded this. And it was really interesting. About 2 in the morning, I start feeling really buzzy. And that's usually how I feel when the grays come into my room.
Mm,
And
mhm.
I saw energetically, I think I see the fourth dimension when it comes into my room and comes
Yeah.
into the third.
Yeah.
A gray stepped in. I felt something yanked. This is so gross. I felt things yanked out of me energetically.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow.
And that scared me too. So I got even more upset, and I was like, no, no, we're done. We're done. I want everything out of me. I want all of this done. The next morning, I had the worst bloody nose, and I had
Mhm.
a thing come out.
Mhm.
I had
Mhm.
an implant come out,
Wow.
and it was at that moment, it was when I was holding that in my hand and looking at it, and I was trying to tell myself, this isn't real, this isn't real, but it was real. When
Wow.
I saw that and I realized, am I this powerful? Did I really do this?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like,
Mhm.
that was the moment. I think that's what you were asking me. That was the moment I'm like, oh, I want all of this done. Like I want to get better. So I
Mm.
did every night after that. I demanded. Um, I saw contraptions coming off of me, and I could feel it. These are like etheric, I think I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt my energy centers open. Every time one of these things came out, I felt more clarity. It's like breathing for the first time. It's like being born. It's like being born for the first time. I felt some of my life. I had it back, and I hadn't had that. because they were taking all my energy.
Wow. That's a really powerful, that piece that you've just given this is very, very powerful, and also speaks to how you have gotten here where you are now. We're in April 2024, 6 months at least probably have passed, or 6 months have passed. So that's, yeah, I think you have gotten your life back and things are shifting for you. I have kind of a funny detailed question that I think people in the audience might want to ask. You may or may not recognize or remember this, but did the implant that came out have any characteristics that you recall? I mean, did it look like anything particular, or it might have just been this?
Are we gonna get gross? I can get
We
gross.
can get gross.
Okay.
Look at my channel. Look at the things I've talked.
Okay. All right, I'll get into detail here. Um, yeah, it looked like, let's see. I did this too because I was just done. I had nothing left. So I dug through my tissue of my bloody nose with tweezers.
Yeah,
And there was this is so gross, I'm sorry.
that's all right. Gross as
Like
well.
a few millimeters long. It was like a silicone rubberish black worm thing.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay.
And okay, so with tweezers, I couldn't break it. I couldn't cut it. I tried to cut it with scissors, it wouldn't break.
Mhm.
That's just, I'm being gross. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's being, you know what? It's being us
But
honest. It's being real.
so yeah,
Thank you for your truth. Yeah.
and yeah, and I will say that those came out more than once in different parts of my body came out. So
Okay.
yeah, they're real.
Okay. Thank you so much. People in the audience are glad that you went in that direction. Thank you. Thank you. This is beautiful. Because those are the details people want to know. Well, like, what is that? What does it even look like? Because, there are people out there watching who have been, so to say, interfered with or even invaded by the Greys, maybe in a prior era. And, similar situation as you, or a little bit at least, it's very relatable. So do you have any recollection of when, do you feel like this started in childhood then?
Yeah, I
Scrolling
do.
back, you do feel like that. And do you have
Yeah.
any recollection of them like making visits when you were younger? Do
Yeah.
you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, all the time.
Okay.
I remember now. I didn't remember when I had a session with you, but
Okay.
from my crib, from
Oh,
in
wow.
utero, yeah,
So a
they
lot.
were
Okay.
always there.
And another detail oriented question, do you have a recollection of what they look like at all? Were they short or tall, or any detail on their
There's
presentation, or?
many different kinds that
Mhm.
that messed with me and came to me.
Okay.
The ones that came in to take these things out were just short, and they come in when they come into my room in the dark. They almost look like blue and shimmery, but they're not blue. They're gray,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you can see the eyes. I don't know. I can see them.
Yeah, no, it's just I
Um,
love the descriptions are can be so rich and bring these things to life and help people,
I have a picture on my iPhone of one
Mhm.
coming into my room. You can see it. I'd have to show you, but
Yeah.
yeah, if you can see it's pixelated a little bit, but you
Mhm.
can see them.
Yeah, oh yes, I know. I've had my own had my own stuff.
Oh, and I didn't
Yeah.
tell you this part. A few weeks after the implants came out, I had a gray walk into my bedroom,
Mm.
and I jump up and I'm upset and I'm like, "No, get out, F off." He goes, "I don't know where to go." He
Mm.
said,
Mhm.
I don't know if it's a he or it. It
Mhm.
said, "I've only done this. I don't know what else to do. I don't have a job. I don't have a home to go to. I don't know what to do." He's like, "Please help me." I was like, "What?
Mm.
Help you? Like, you guys ruined my life. Why should I help you?"
Mm.
Anyways, jumping to about a week ago, when you had emailed me about you wanted to ask some questions about the grace, he came
Mhm.
back, or it came back,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it said, "I want to help. I want to help people." And I said, I don't. I'm just saying this psychically, like I can communicate psychically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, well, explain to me, like, why should I trust you? Why are you even talking to me? Like, I made myself very clear. I don't want to have anything to do at all. He really doesn't have anywhere to go. He doesn't know what to do. It's kind of sad that
Mhm.
some of them, I think, were, is my internet on?
Yeah, you're good. You're
Am I
good.
frozen?
No, you're fine.
Okay. He said, he just, it's sad. He didn't, it didn't know what to do. Like I didn't know where to send it. I just told it to leave me, but it still
Mhm.
comes back and it's like, I don't know where to go. Like put
Mhm.
me to work, which doesn't make sense to me, but
Wow, that's really interesting, and that was recent. So,
I think it's interesting that, I think the Greys were a long time ago different races that were enslaved.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, there's
Um,
been a lot of that. Yes.
and yeah, so I think this specific one was possibly, what's the word when they're made to do what they do? They're forced, or like they're like a
Well,
slave.
they're co-opted and enslaved as well. I think
Right.
you're making a beautiful point and bringing that home too. Like, well, where is the master-servant relationship really ending up here? And that whole that kind of dynamic. Yeah, like that's
It's sad.
yeah, yeah. But you don't feel like threatened by the presence anymore. I think that's the
Oh no, 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 no. When I figured out how they work and how they operate and how they manipulate, the fear is gone. I have no
Well, and
fear.
that's that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's like the kingpin of all of this is that the fear is
The-
gone, and what extrapolate. Think about humanity when the fear is gone, when we're not living in
Oh,
the matrix reality. And like you said, well, I stood up and I said, I'm not doing this anymore. Well, that's a metaphor for our time. Please take
exactly.
note. Take note, everyone. So thank you for bringing that to the show. Yeah, and what is there something more that you reflect on from the past with them? Anything else you would share about kind of their interventions over time or recollections of how they kind of got to you or even why they got to you? Maybe a sense of why this happened. Anything in that little topic bubble that appeals to you?
I know the how that they get to people.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know all of the why they did what they did to me.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
but I know how they get in now, and I know all their tricks,
Hmm.
and I think it's really amazing because if I know all their tricks and I'm not afraid, then that means everybody on earth can be free within, just by understanding that,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
that it comes down to that God spark that we have. And this is what that one gray was explaining to me when he'd asked me if he could help me free people from the hold of the grays. And I still was like, are you trying to trick me again?
Right, are you trying, that's what we would always ask with the girls. Are you trying to trick me? Because
No,
I'm onto you.
like
I'm onto
always
you.
trying
Yeah.
to trick me.
Mhm.
Yeah. But what he said was, sorry, I keep referring it. He said that we have this spark within us, this God particle. And this God particle can't be touched, it can't be cut, it can't be killed, it can't be snuffed out, it can't be,
Yeah.
yeah, it can't be extinguished. This is us. This is our divine birthright. We all have this.
Mm.
What they can do is they can make us believe that we don't have it. They can hide it from us. They can make us believe that, yeah, it doesn't exist, but they can't touch it. Just like the reptilians, they were trying to splice that God particle out. They can't touch it.
Mm.
There's nothing about there's nothing about what the ETs have done to us that we can't undo.
Yeah, and
That's what I
I very much agree with that. Thank you for bringing that point up as well, and the point of one's power and sovereignty inside of all this, and that it's a like you said, so beautifully a divine spark that we all have, and kind of lessons learned inside of this are massive. You know, I mean, do you feel like you've just learned so much through these last months, particularly?
I'm just not the same person.
Hmm. And what does that, what does that look like for you now, as far as life now? I mean, um, it looks like, I mean, I feel like you've gotten a lot of health back. Would you say that that's, coming around?
My health, yeah. God,
Hmm.
they just everything. They had me believing that everything was broken. They had me believing that I was a failure, that I was broken, that I couldn't.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
wish I could express everything I've been through.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the language comes over time, right? Like it's a lot, it's a very large conversation to have in the privacy of our minds and hearts. First and foremost, I would say, I feel that for
that
my,
yeah,
yeah.
and that's a big thing too. If we are still, if there's any part of us that is still lying to ourselves or not honest with ourselves about something, you
Hmm.
gotta time to tell the truth, you gotta be real.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
can't, you have to be able to willing to look at every aspect of yourself and your weaknesses and what you don't like to look at because that's where they're hiding.
And that's also well said. That's quite a wisdom teaching too. I mean, wisdom for our time there, very much. Thank you. Yeah, and it's as we're speaking, I really feel your solar plexus energy. It's like this bright shining, you know. It's really the whole like sort of battle with the grays and their leavings in your life. Feels like it's really turned on your own sense of volition. And is that something you feel or?
They took away my power and I have my power back.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I don't
Beautiful.
know how to say
I just feel excited about that.
it.
Yeah. And so, do you recall any other races that were maybe tampering with you, maybe, or helping you? Either one of those?
Helping.
Mhm.
I have helping me. I have mantids helping me.
Mm, mhm,
Um, there is, this is going to be weird. There's a there's an ant being that used to, this is going to sound really weird. The same, when I was younger and the grays would come in, I would get sleep paralysis
mhm,
right before they would abduct me. Always sleep paralysis. Well, the being that would come in when I was a child and give me sleep paralysis is an ant being.
mhm,
And now they're here helping me because I guess they're not enslaved anymore. So it's just amazing to see, like, for an example, like this one gray wanting to help, and then the ant being that's not enslaved anymore saying, "No, I'm a good guy. Like, I can help you."
mhm, mhm.
They're the most love I've ever felt ever.
The ant beings I've had similar with, and I've experienced them almost as angelic energy, which might sound weird for a big bug, but they come
Yes,
much,
angelic.
much.
I know it sounds weird.
Yeah, well, so my impression is they come from a high level unified field of consciousness, and it's very much based on that unconditional loving cosmic energy. And they work, I've experienced them as working as almost it'll be one that I'm interfacing with, but it's almost like the whole collective is in unison. In this again that unified field of consciousness, which is so upper dimensional, it's like very next level. So thank you for sharing that about the ant beings and then the mantid as well. So
Beautiful.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we've got some overlap here.
It's some
So yeah.
me too.
You want to say a little bit, what would you like to share about the mantid? Anything?
Um, you had mentioned like these beings are with us always, and it's like a piece of furniture. That's a really good analogy, but she was like
Yeah.
a piece of furniture, and I didn't know it was her. And I kind of now I'm
Oh.
just so excited to know that she's there because I didn't know. The Grays had me believing terrible things about myself, and
Mhm. Yeah.
oh, it feels good to have. like galactic family now, like support.
Mhm. I'm going to interject a little clarification here about insectoids. There can be many different groups, and then and as with the grays too. I mean, we lump the grays all together, the mantids all together, the ant beings, and so on. And there can be different races doing different things aligned with different energies and intentions. Just to clarify that, I probably said that on the channel before, but so this isn't to override or underride or make things black and white about maybe an experience that you've had out there, dear viewer, that might be different. So, because I know, these beings have also been involved in induction experiences too. And I think that's what we're getting at too, is like, I think there's been a massive shift in our solar system where some of these beings are coming back, seeing the light, if you like, so to speak, just to use
Yeah.
human terminology, and things are massively shifting. And I'm wondering too, Erica, this is a poignant point that, do you feel like this shift came around for you, divine timing, as things are shifting in the solar system? Do you find a synergy with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of light. There's a lot of light on the planet right now to tap into.
Yes.
There's a lot of light.
Yes. So, wow, I find that true, and I find that things are changing, rapidly in terms of, if we look into time immemorial, like there's a lot changing pretty quickly. So wow. Reflecting on, I don't know why I keep going back into the trajectory of like your birth, maybe your natal family, anything about your natal family that might have been significant in kind of setting you up for this kind of interplay with the grays, for example, and abductions. Anything about that you want to share?
Um, my parents were very young
Hmm.
and they were teenagers when they had me.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
they weren't, they were teenagers, they were kids. You know, the Greys took advantage of that. They're like, oh, she doesn't have parents, she doesn't have love, she doesn't have this, she doesn't have that. That's how they got me.
Okay.
um,
Okay.
I believe also that this sounds terrible that my parents were also put together as
Mm,
breeders for perfect my lab kids do,
mm.
because it just doesn't make sense. They have nothing in common. They didn't,
Wow.
I don't know.
Wow. Well, that
Yeah.
sounds shockingly familiar. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know.
that might be more common than we realize. And, I'd be
Yeah.
interested in the comments below from viewers, share your thoughts on that. Do you have, maybe you've had abduction experiences, you want to share that with us? We're wanting to know. What was your natal family structure? What did that look like? Yeah, because in my observation on this is that when we come out of a family where there's maybe not the nourishing, loving connection that we would, ideally have, most of us didn't have
Right.
that, but if there's a lot of trauma and neglect, the Greys and other groups, we are primed for like, we want to connect as kids. So sometimes the Greys come in and they're
Oh
like, oh,
yeah.
mommy, daddy, like somebody cares about me. They're paying attention to me. Wow, I'll go with you.
Exactly. And that was the biggest thing. That was the biggest thing is they were like, Erica wants to feel special. Erica wants to feel loved. Erica doesn't have a sense of family. We'll be that for her. They came in and offered me, and I didn't know it was them because I
Mm,
was a kid, but they
yeah.
offered me everything I didn't have here that
Oh.
I
Mhm.
thought I needed. And they took over. Like I felt like they were my family. I didn't know it was the Greys because they show, when they present themselves,
Yeah.
you don't see that it's them. You see that it's like, I think one time they even made themselves look like Jesus Christ and showed themselves to my sister. It's tricks and tricks and tricks.
Yeah, they can appear in different guys.
um,
So yeah. Yeah.
yeah, disguises. But they giving me these like once for them to get me to give them consent to take me to the moon, they were
Mhm.
like, oh, here, levitate this. You can do that. You're special. They really, they
Mm.
knew my wounds. They knew what I didn't have on Earth, in my family support system. And they
Mm.
really played on that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Am I making sense?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's how we become co-opted, and a lot of, sort of regressive groups will have tabs on us in some sense. Um, I think especially like in my case, a lot of this was my perception is a lot of this was predicated before I came in, and so there would be kind of almost a energetic record of my unfolding, and our whereabouts are known, our inner workings are known, our
They know,
innermost
yeah,
heart
they
is
know
known.
everything.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
They
interesting.
know.
Erica, you had siblings, is that right?
Yeah, I have a sister.
Okay, and do you have a sense that maybe she had any interference, or what's your impression?
I talked to her about a week ago,
Oh,
and I'm writing a book about my experiences, and I haven't told anybody in my family.
mm,
And so I finished, I'm almost done with the book. It'll be out in 2 weeks.
wow.
And I gave her a chapter of our childhood talking about our abductions at night. And I just handed it to her and I'm like, just read this. And I was
Wow.
watching her and I was like, I probably shouldn't have done that to her, but
Oh,
but
so
she looks up at me and she goes, yeah, I couldn't breathe. And I'm like, oh, you had sleep paralysis too? She goes, yeah, they would choke me. And then she goes back to reading it. And then she'd look up at me and she'd say, yeah, they used to levitate me down the hall. And then she'd start reading again. And she said, do you remember that they would come and stand next to the bed? So yeah, yeah. But that's all. She won't like go
well,
into it
that's
with
so
me.
Erica, that's massive, because I don't know if I've spoken about my brother on here, and we had tandem like sleep paralysis and him being levitated through
Yeah,
the house.
we went together.
Bro will not go into ET.
I
He's like, oh.
don't.
I said, well, where's your ET drawings from childhood and all? I don't know where those are. What are you talking about? Like, he just is like, will not touch it. So
Right.
for your sis to be like, yeah, yeah, she's kind of like, excited to get into
But
this
she,
and not
yeah,
shying away is pretty great.
but just a few years ago, it was just like the case with your brother. Like, I don't know what you're
Oh,
talking about. Like, you're not,
was it?
we're,
Okay, so there's some shift there. See, I feel like when one person,
yes.
one wheel in the family system, kind of the cog is shifting,
Yes,
it changes the dynamic for
it
everyone.
does. It does.
Ooh.
It does.
So, and um, wow, when you were younger, what was your take on ETs? Like, did you think that was a bunch of BS?
I
Or
didn't know. Yeah, I
didn't?
wouldn't have, I had no idea. I had
Okay,
no idea that they existed.
yeah,
When they showed, because they were in my life my entire life, but they would show themselves as like saints or angels or
yeah, yeah,
but not ever a gray. I didn't believe in anything. I hated sci-fi. I didn't want anything to do with sci-fi. I wouldn't even watch uh sci-fi. I didn't believe in aliens. I didn't believe because it
yeah,
didn't fit with
yeah,
my spirituality or what I was taught or Christianity or whatever.
yeah.
But
Oh, wow.
then then it just hits you when
I,
you are
I find
watching
that,
a
yeah, I find that our belief system really has to catch up with, open itself to avail our
yeah,
consciousness to a bigger perspective, and that can take time. It can really take
yeah.
time. Wow. Do you have, when you look back, beside the grays, do you feel like there were also benevolence at that point, whether they were angelic presence or anything else like that, like positive spiritual presence?
I believe so because I didn't have anybody. I don't know. Let me try to say this. I
Yeah.
didn't have any love, support, guidance, any kind of anything. Sorry, I
Yeah.
lost my thought. What did you just ask?
It's
Say it
okay. It
again.
happens. Just about any benevolent presence, ET or otherwise, like in the spiritual realm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because no matter what I went through, I always felt hopeful and I always felt really positive about I knew that there was love and goodness somewhere. I knew it, but I didn't know if I would ever find it.
Yeah.
But I knew it something I knew something was how do I say this? I knew there was goodness and my soul, my cellular memory knew that somebody loved me somewhere,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was not in my conscious mind or my subconscious mind. And the visitations I had no memory of, the
Mm.
grace had blocked that out of my conscious mind. So
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So this was as being quite an intense incarnation for you then, I would say. You know, is that an understatement?
I will not do it again.
Well, I feel like, I mean, would you say the lessons have been pretty profound and the learning has been massive?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what the energy I read is definitely like, this is almost like that this is the keynote of this incarnation, and all the lessons and pivotal pieces and parts of this are that are coming to fruition now are really gonna, I mean, your life is really opening. Life is opening, life is opening. Does that feel true to you or
Yes.
yeah, okay.
And, at 51 years old, and I feel like this is my first year or my first few months of being alive since
Wow.
I've been free of that. That's huge. And even my memory, even my memory of the past 50 years is a little bit shadowed. Um, Not shadowed. It's like dark because I was under
Yeah, yeah.
so much of their grip.
Wow. And does it feel like there's more coming up from the deep wellspring of memory for you that you just had no access to? Um,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Like whether
Um,
it's mundane life stuff from wherever,
it's like
any
everything.
and everything else too, the etheric parts and the kind of like I think off-world things for you, abductions, where were you taken and all that kind of thing. Feels like it's also been coming in. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'm remembering once all the energy centers are clear and you're letting go of these traumas and you're doing the inner child work, you get
Yeah.
all the good stuff back. You get all
Yeah.
the blessings and all the memory and all, oh, it was good. Oh, that was good. I'm just seeing all this beauty and goodness now that I couldn't see before.
Oh, I love that. I can feel that in my heart. And so you were able, I think, because you see energy, work with energy, have a lot of psi ability anyway, you were able to really work with your own chakras and energy system to clarify things. Is that also
Yeah.
correct? Or, um,
To clear, I want to make this point too before
mhm, mhm,
I had to go to each child aspect of mine that had been either brutalized or traumatized by something that the Greys did.
mhm,
And I had to talk to that aspect of myself. And
yeah,
I had to say, okay, I'm going to give an example of that. Like, um, there's a 7-year-old me. This is my example.
yeah,
Um, I call her Erica 7.
mhm,
She's a 7-year-old aspect, and I had to go in and I had to convince her that she was worth loving and I had to convince her she was worth it.
mhm,
And I sat there with her. I'm gonna cry. I
mm,
sat there with her like, no, this was not your fault. What happened to you? These are bad beings. They're not your family. This was not your fault.
yeah,
You don't need to blame yourself anymore. And bringing those child aspects in, and that was a lot of work.
mm,
Once they forgave themselves, I know this sounds weird, it's all me, but once I was able to do that with each of them, it let go a lot of the technology that the grace had on me would
mm.
release. My good memories would come back in. My heart, I would feel goodness. I was so blocked from any kind of goodness.
Mm, that's powerful work. I mean, the how you were guided to work with the child aspects of yourself and how that seems like it was a pivotal part of the,
You have to.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that too. And sometimes we
'Cause
we tend to underestimate the potency of that sort of work, but I always call it a kind of soul retrieval when we work with our child parts, those pieces. Yeah. Mm,
there in those child aspects, I was also able to get more information about what I needed to do to break free even more. Every child aspect that I met in myself had a gift, like they had something to help me with too. It sounds weird. I know it's all me, but
No, it doesn't, because, well, look, I do inner child work with clients all the time, and this is how it rolls. And yes, it's all part of self, but we could say we're working with pieces that have been really cut off, and so they almost exist as their own individualized
they,
identity
yeah, almost.
brought in.
Yeah, and because they're lost there, they never integrated. They're just lost there, and you got to bring them back. But they
Yeah,
were the ones that helped me discover where the grace had gotten me,
yeah,
and
yeah,
how to release that.
yeah.
So,
Wow. And they have so much information for us when we begin to listen.
mhm,
I think a primary thing that we're talking about too is listening for their need. What is their need? Once they have what they need, and a lot of times in the earliest stages, it's to feel safe, number one, safe.
that's it. Yeah. Mhm.
But then they can guide us on the journey home. And did one of your 7-year-old aspect or so give you information about where you were taken or what happened, or can you share more about that? Yeah.
Um, this is another hard part to talk about. Let me get some water.
Mm, yeah.
Your mouth goes instantly dry.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, my 7-year-old aspect had been taken to a deep military base
Mm, mhm,
in, and they took me and my dad. I was 6 or 7.
mhm.
And while the Greys tortured me, they made my dad watch.
Mm,
And
wow.
they did that until he didn't want to look at me anymore because it made him so uncomfortable.
Mhm,
And that would play out in for the rest of my life on the surface, in reality,
yeah.
as no matter what would happen, my dad or mom would never help me or look at me.
Wow.
They're deviant. So I had to get this 7-year-old who thought that she deserved to suffer because dad and mom didn't help her, and this happened to her. And when I was able to let her know that we had been tricked and that this wasn't our fault, she came running to me. She just wanted to feel safe. She wanted to feel like
Yeah.
that somebody did protect her. And so I was able to go back and do that. And now she's my greatest ally. I call her 7.
Mhm.
She's me.
Yeah.
But when I'm scared or if I'm going through something, all I do is call her. I can't explain this because we're multidimensional.
We're totally multidimensional.
It's
Yes.
just really
Yeah.
beautiful to have like this aspect come back, and the more these aspects come back, I'm I'm whole. I become more whole. So
Yeah.
now we work together. So 7 likes to help me with psychic stuff or like helping people.
Mhm.
But that was her gift because I rescued her from her. It might, this is hard to discuss because it's multidimensional.
Yeah, it's nonlinear. And I found over the years of interviewing that we get to places in the interview where it's like, okay, I need more language, like than what we've been given with English to kind of describe very quantum happenings, right? It's always going to be limited and truncated and squashed into this sort of 3D, languaging. It doesn't really do it justice, but
No.
um,
And I
yeah.
feel like I'm talking like a third grader, but
You're doing a great job. Thanks for being here.
thank
And do you feel like your abilities have expanded or at least come back, or where are you with that at the moment?
yes. With every
Hmm.
with every aspect that has healed, with every child aspect I've brought back,
Hmm.
each one of them, and I have brought back hundreds, and each one of them has different psychic abilities, different healing abilities,
Hmm.
different. I just call it magic. They're magic.
They have their magic.
They, it was all of these aspects that were supposed to be me that the Greys
Mhm.
and all the other ETs and the military blocked.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's very, very powerful.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
once getting those energy centers open, those guitar strings I was talking about,
Mhm.
now they're straight again. Wow, your psi abilities come in like that.
Mm.
Like nothing's a secret.
Yeah. Well, on that note, did you get a sense, have you learned, were the Greys working for someone else, or you're talking about military and your father? I'm curious about this interplay, this dynamic. Do you have a
I don't
sense
know
of
all the details.
what else was happening on that front?
I I kind of do, but I don't have enough to
Yeah,
speak it clearly.
fair enough. Fair. It takes
I
time
just
to
I
kind of
just
put it
know.
together.
Okay, so what I do know is that the Greys did work for, oh, it's hard to say. My
Hmm.
they really don't ever want us to speak about it. Military
Mhm.
agencies.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Okay, there you go. You did it.
did it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have several military agencies that have been messing with my life, and the Greys worked for them, and the Greys worked for the reptilians.
Hmm.
And
Okay. Okay.
that was it.
Mhm.
They didn't do this just, yeah, they didn't do this on their own.
Okay. Yeah, thank
And I
you.
and I'm
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure that my father has some kind, was kind of like a gray star seed or something.
Mhm.
And so I also think that they worked with him too.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's a lot.
Was your dad have any military ties or anybody in the family with military ties that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of yet.
Okay. Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
I do, when you work for big pharma, you're still working for like the Fourth Reich.
Mhm. 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 You
It's,
can say that here.
big pharma and
You can say that here.
sorry.
Yeah. 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 So this is
So
interesting.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure that, and I have that memory that I saw my dad in that signing papers when I was 7. So I don't know. I think we were all manipulated. I wonder, I'm curious to know what it would have looked like if there hadn't been any so much gray interference. Like if we would have any kind of relationship. I don't know. I'm just curious.
Yeah. Well, you might go back and sort of explore that timeline through consciousness and see what that looks like. It could help bring part of that timeline to fruition. Um, yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I could, extrapolate from my own, deep past here as well,
Right.
right? So,
What would it be like?
well, you brought a lot of things, into the light here on the channel, and um, a lot of pieces have come together, and it took time. Do you have anything you'd impart to people who are trying to also likewise kind of get free of a system that, whether it's, the grays from a past era or something else? Some people contact me who are targeted, or people who have had a lot of SSP people come to see me. Anything you would impart to them? Anything to share elsewise?
I think it's kind of the same across the board. The military tech, the gray tech, it kind of works the same. If you can get we do all have that divine spark.
Yeah.
And this is why that they have to use tech on us because they don't know how to control us without.
Mhm.
We have this. And whether it's targeting, because I was targeted, I should have added that.
Mhm.
I was very targeted.
Mhm.
Um, when you're honest with yourself and you can access, be really true to yourself, know what your frequency is, and heal your trauma
Mhm.
and get these child aspects back, because every time we break, a part of us goes away. Every time we have trauma, a part of us goes away.
Mhm.
Getting that back, there's a certain frequency you can reach where not even military targeting can affect you anymore.
Yeah.
I am not believing that I just said that, but I just said that.
No, I love what you just said. And, I feel for me, sometimes people ask me these things in interviews and I say, the heart frequency has no bounds
Yes,
and it is untouchable. When
it
you
is.
really develop the language of the heart and that heart biofield emanates from us, that's massive protection. And that
It's like a
can,
shield.
yeah, it is a kind of shield. And it can also awaken through the work what we do with the child aspects as well. I mean, didn't you find like you had such deep wellspring of compassion for yourself after a while, working with these sort of broken aspects? I mean, it's just such a tearful, beautiful, loving embrace after a while, even though at first we might kind of reject it or go, oh, this is horrible, it's hideous.
It is horrible and hideous, but if you
Mhm.
stay with it and you can get through it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you've made a heroic journey here, and I feel like you have also memories of space program things that we might get into at a future time. But um, yeah, is there anything, you know, I think we've shared here that at least my perception, and I think you agreed earlier on that there's a huge shift going on the planet where this stuff is really, we're coming out of an era that's not going to repeat. And
No,
we're like collectively doing the work that you and have done and I have done and others who are watching, um, breaking free. So there's a tremendous amount of hope and upliftment, and I feel too that we are supporting each other to do this work. And are you taking clients now, Erica? Are you seeing
yes.
people? Yeah.
Yes, I
You
am.
want to do a word about how you work? Want to share that?
Um, it's hard to talk about me.
Yeah.
I'm an energy intuitive, and I like to my passion is to empower people and get your sovereignty back, because we have no amount of ET interference can stop that. I just
Yes.
want everybody to find their divine flame again.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Yes.
don't know how to
Yes.
say that better.
No, that was well said. And we are sovereign, we are empowered. I think that's our parting gift today, a reminder about that. And you can be reached. I'll link your email contact below, and as well as at ericaamoreena.com is your
Yeah,
contact page. Is that
yeah.
correct?
EricaAmoreena.com.
We will
Yes.
connect you there. And if any, I would just share as well about my own, work. You can always book inner child sessions with me, quantum healing, Akashic reading, soul council sessions, and coaching, Starseed coaching, and so much more. And that's all linked below to my website. So collaboration of Starseed sisters here today to all of you out there. Thank you, Erica, for being with us. And thanks everybody for watching. Rebecca Rose, Sirius Blue. So happy to be here sharing the stories.
Thank you.
Just to mention this briefly, I have a mother and father from a previous lifetime, Indigenous mother and father, and I just call them simply mother and father. They've been with me every day for about 2.5 years. They were my parents from a previous lifetime with the Crow people. And they've helped me heal so much. They've done soul retrieval work for me. They helped me journey to get parts back. And that's actually ongoing. Like even today, I was working with them this morning. And their love is so beautifully unconditional.